A special event for a very special group of people. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to APPF1 for the Christmas jumper race here on what is a fantastic Friday evening. It is myself, Zach Sweeney, to talk you through the entirety of the action here tonight for what should be a spectacle of an event around the streets of the Saudi Arabian street circuit. Everyone in their full glorious Christmas jumper liveries. We're about to get underway for an 18-minute qualifying session into, of course, a 25 lap 50% race around Jeddah. You can see everyone's main primary colours to the left-hand side of your screen. On the timing tower, we've got the likes of Ted, a legend in his own right. Both him and Scott, sprint champions. Then comes Lifebout, SMII06, Rick, the man, the Flying Dutchman, JD, RJ Blair, MX, Kiernan, Truckster, FRFC, GG Ghost, of course, the big man at the top, FT Ronic, Lawrence, and Socks to round off the 15-car grid that we have in store for today. I've missed you guys. I had a bit of an issue setting up because I did the intro about 3 different times. But we're here, we're ready. And what we're going to do is we're going to get everyone a good, fair amount of coverage. And fingers crossed, everything goes nice and smoothly. Do let me know, of course, if there are any issues over the course of this evening in terms of audio and things like that. Whatever it is, I do have to constantly be flicking between things and this, that, and the other. And it's not something I do very often. Is stream my own races. It's not something I've really had to do. So yeah, we've got to try and make sure everything goes as smoothly as possible. I will, of course, be keeping an eye on the YouTube chat over the course of this race, but I do again have to just familiarise myself with Formula One. It's been a long time since I've done a commentary over it. All in the fancy big boy world of iRacing and Assetto Corsa Competizione, R Factor 2. Wow, what else is there? There are a lot of sims out there, but none of them have paled in comparison to APPF1 and for you guys at home. Well, it's been... I don't even know. It's been a long time. I don't even know when exactly. I think it was March or April was the last time that I've been with you guys. It was, I think the last time was a sprint, if I do so remember correctly. Anyway, we're right on board with Lifebout for the entirety of the lap here in Jeddah. We'll go full cam off for everything. Again, if it does get a little bit pixelated, do let me know. We're riding on board with Lifebout in his full glory. Look at that Christmas livery. In towards turn number 1, you've got to be heavy on the brakes. Into 2. Trying to eye up the exit as best as you possibly can. Bit of a wiggle on the exit, of course, from Lifebout in towards this quick flick to the left, down to about 5th or 6th gear, I think, and then you just try and commit your way all the way through the right, and then into the left, very long left-hander, flick back to the right. That is the theme here at Saudi Arabia, to make sure that you hook up every single corner. Very much a momentum-based thing. It's hop, skip, and a jump all the way through. Into my favourite corner on the circuit. Flick it so hard into the left. Try and hug the inside as much as you can and just build up the confidence on the throttle. Getting as close as you can to this wall on the right-hand side. Flick it back to the left. Brake as soon as the curb straightens up. And then you flick to the right, flick to the left again. That's the theme. Bit of a twitch from Lifebout again. Not reaching 100% of his confidence. Unfortunately, we already have lost a Tronk from this session. Flat out section. Hard on the brakes. 6th gear, left, right, flat out maybe if you can try and commit. Purple to the middle sector goes Lifebout. Ted, unfortunately, has left the session, so fingers crossed we can get him back in as soon as possible. Braking at 100 board for the final corner then. 4th gear. Keep the revs high, try and build up that turbo spool as quick as you can, and then bring yourself to the left-hand side on the shortest possible run to the line. What is it going to be to see Lifebout to the top of the timing sheets? It is a 1:29.1 as he is on a bid maybe to take pole position here tonight. Well, it is, yes, of course, very community based. There's no stakes or championship standings or anything along this line. It's a case of just going out there, having a bit of fun, rounding off the year in style. You can see already we've got Ghost 128.8, Kiernan a 129.0. This time, about a year ago, I think, it was Ghost, Kiernan and Rick all bidding for that Friday night Tier 1 championship, and all of them wanted to win it dearly. It was Kiernan, of course, that came out on top, but now over a year later, a lot has happened. The new game, the return of well, as Rick put it, the return of the king. I'm only quoting the Flying Dutchman. And of course, it's a lot has changed. So we'll see who comes out on top today. Fierce rivalry has Ghost and Kinnan always had. Both of them very quick in their own rights. Both of them very deserving champions. Last time I remember, Ghost was a 3-time sprint champion. Whether that's changed or not in recent times, I don't know. Whether Kinnan has added to his tier 1 feats, again, I do not know. But again, yeah, we'll just see who comes out on top, shall we? Scott trying to set up for the best lap possible, invalidated that previous lap, so trying to get himself back into the rhythm of things, back onto the start-finish straight with the latest possible apex, as you can see. The number 2 machine, very basic, green and red, primarily green, but also the red for a bit of Christmas tingle, I suppose, I don't know. Christmas spice, whatever you want to call it. Again, speaking of, let's actually go through everyone's liveries if they are out on track. We got Prancer the Reindeer of Rick there, out in his number 15 machine. You can definitely tell he's put a lot of effort into that with the brown and the red. We go to Tinos, who's got a very striking livery. That's right on board with that, actually. It's green, but also that red as well, and the white, just to, you know, nice and bit of snow, sprinkling a bit of snow on the top of that chassis, I think, as they run their way around the Jeddah street circuit. Still trying to figure out the camera controls and things. Here could be an interesting one from Lawrence D. 1989. Blue, red, and white. And that's an interesting one. First time we've seen blue, of course. Running his way through. Brilliant. Brilliant livery. Again, get your votes in the YouTube chat if you are watching along. Who has got the best livery? And no, Rick, you cannot vote for yourself. There's a nice one. That looked very much like a bit of wrapping paper that you'd see around some of your presents. I do like that from Socks, doing a great job. What has Ghost done? He's into the pit lane, so we got no one else to go through. Actually, no, we've got SMI. I'll just call him Smee for the purpose of simplicity's sake. Again, just the red and white. Basic Christmas, can't go wrong. Looks like a blended candy cane, I suppose, if that's how you want to put it. Ted's back into the session. What's he looking like in his machine? Again, just the very basic green and red. But flipped, I think, from what Scott did. Yeah, pretty much exactly what Scott did, just to the power of -1, I suppose. In that sense, here's Ghost leaving the pit lane. He's of course got his on the again the green and the red, and that's just the Christmas colours, the basic ones that you expect, because you know Kris Kringle and Christmas is just very red, green, white, very light, vibrant colours. But yeah, nice liveries. Again, we'll try and go through them all when we can. There's going to be a lot of similarities, though, in terms of colours when it comes to the Christmas jumper race. And it's going to be hard to distinguish who's where, really. But anyway, we'll see. We'll play it by ear. We'll see how we get on. Again, if you are watching along in the YouTube chat, do let me know if there are any issues. Make sure you do like, subscribe, turn the bell on for notifications, because I'm not streaming very often, so you do not want to miss out on anything that I do manage to get on stream. Thankfully, honestly, me and Ghost were talking over the last couple of days. He was like, so, crossplay's a thing? Do you reckon you can get in for the Christmas jumper race? Just as a one-off, just to see if we can get you in, see what the people's reaction like, give them something to round off the year well. And I was like, yeah, absolutely, I do really want to. Usually I would be over on Racebot TV doing the Friday night primetime. At the moment, it's Arjuna Kankapati and Cameron Roger talking you through the action over in the IndyCar world. You can't call it IndyCar for very much longer in the world of iRacing, because they've not renewed their contract with IndyCar, which has caused a lot of backlash. Let's say that much in the world of the iRacing community. But I was like, if crossplay works, if I can get a replacement for Raceport, absolutely, I want to be there. And I really do enjoy being here. At the moment, Ghost leads the way. A 1:28.835 for him. Just under halfway left to go in the session. Kinnan, Ghost definitely practiced for this. Well, you're only about 2/10 off. So, buckle up. Drive better. If he's practiced, drive quicker than him. Prove that you're that little bit better. Here's Kinnan. Bit of a different approach in terms of his livery. Going with a black background, black base. And then a very sporadic green, red sort of combination, whatever the word is, combination. Looks nice, different out there. I like it. We've seen MX's, just again the basic green and red. Nice. Again, there's nothing wrong with being basic. Ghost, however, about a 10th and a half up through the middle sector, trying to improve on that previous best time that sees him for provisional pole. And running his way into the flat-out section. Just look at how quick this is. This is what I love about this circuit. Yes, politics and everything like that, get it out of the way, whatever, right? I say whatever. Purple to the middle sector as well, just under 2.5 tenths clear of Kiernan through the middle sector is Ghost. He's done a fantastic job on trying to improve upon that time. Get a bit of slipstream as well from the car in front. Managing to work his way through, gaining a little bit into the final corner. Now the pressure is on. DRS closes. Got to get the lap and seal the lap here. This is where it is do or die. You do not want to battle it now. All the pressure will be on the young Britain shoulders. Shortest run possible to the line of 28.448 for Ghost, the 3-time sprint champion of APPF1. And up now to pole position by 6 tenths of a second. MX goes up into second place, just beating Kiernan to the extent of, well, what is that? That is just under half a tenth, or just over half a tenth of a second. So very close between second and third and fourth and fifth, really. You can see from MX down to RJ Blair, they are separated by just over a tenth of a second. Nothing in it whatsoever. And I, for one, am very much looking forward to seeing how this race develops. Kiernan, as it stands, is unfortunately invalidated this lap time, so we won't see him improve any further. But we will try to see him, go for the next lap and see what he can do. And we get Kiernan throwing some abuse at Ghost. Come on, mate. It's Christmas now. If you practice for this, you are a gimp. Lovely job here. I hate Jeddah. I hate Jeddah. I hate Jeddah. I hate Jeddah. Go Socks. And Kiernan is going to be saying the exact same thing very soon, with him clearly not practicing for this race, going in for a bit of a spin through one of the final corners. That is slightly unfortunate, it must be said, for the Briton. No front wing, and that could spell an end to his qualifying session if he's not careful. He needs to make sure he gets himself back to the pit lane. 6 minutes left to go. He should be fine for at least one more run, but that does remain to be seen. Out there on a lap at the moment, GG Ghost as well. We got Rick will ride on board with the Flying Dutchman. Multiple time race winner in both the Tier 1 and the Sprint Championship. Very, very quick in the Tier 2 back in the olden days, back when he was just a novice and trying to find his feet. But through the left hand of the penultimate corner, heavy on the brakes. Again, swing it out wide, cut in late for a late apex because it really does swoop back on itself. 180-degree left-hander. And now Rick on the run to the line. Only needs a couple of tenths of improvement. Goes to pole! A 128.439 for the Flying Dutchman. 9 1,000ths of a second clear of Ghost. What a lap from Rick. And what a session this is turning out to be, from 6th all the way up until 1st. Wow, Rick, mate, you are on an absolute flyer. Kiernan is getting used to using equal cars again, been driving the realistic Aston too much. Again, I haven't got an extensive portfolio in terms of F1 racing this year. I played it for a little while. I got used to the cars, and then I stopped sim racing in general for a while in terms of driving. And unfortunately, my wheel at the moment just it doesn't want to cooperate. It doesn't want to turn on, and it's not working too well. Ghost, I only did 5 to 6 time trial lap. That is not the extent of practice that Kiernan was riding on to use for his little racing driver excuse. But yeah, no, I'm very glad to be back. I know I've said it a number of times, but I am very, very glad to be back. It's a pleasure because APPF1, if for those of you who don't know, for those of you who are maybe new to the community and never got to race during the time that I was the commentator for the community, APPF1 was the start of a long journey of commentary. 2 years ago on Tuesday was what was my debut for APPF1 and my proper debut in terms of commentary back on F1 2020. It was an F2 race at Russia. 9 drivers took to the grid. A lot of OGs. I think on the grid now was Scott there. I don't think Scott was. Ted might have been there. But Davila, AP, those likes of people were on the grid. And since then, I've had the pleasure of working with the likes of Race Room and R Factor 2, Racebot TV. I've literally just recently been working with the FIA on the FIA South European Cup of 2022. Been able to work with the top flight of esports with VCO esports and commentating on the likes of Team Redline and Apex Racing Team and BS Competition and all those people right at the top flight of esports. And it all started here, so I do owe these guys a lot, and they will always hold a very dear place in my heart for kickstarting what has been a brilliant journey. And without them, who knows what would have happened, who knows where I'd be. So I think I owe it to these guys to be able to return at least every once in a while, just to make it special and just to give these guys a good show, because they do deserve it. The amount of effort, the amount of time, and the logistical headache that goes on with running a community and running a league, getting the drivers to turn up on time, stewarding, putting the races together, making sure there's a broadcast and stream, because again, they do not come cheap. If you want a top quality broadcast, you will have to start to fork out, and that's why you see a lot of F1 communities just really struggling for numbers, because everyone wants to have their name pop up on a YouTube stream and be able to go back and watch it, but quality commentators are very much few and far between. Not trying to blow smoke up my backside or anything like that, but because we've all been there, and I respect any commentator that even tries to pick up a mic, get on stream and try and deliver something, because it takes a lot of confidence, and it is very hard. Not anyone can just jump up and do it. But if you want clear stream and you want good frame rates and you want people that can actually really focus on the action, you're going to have to fork out quite a bit of money. But APPF1 does manage with very kind people. Ghost, Sumo, we had One Wing, and a number of others who have been able to contribute to the community and be able to deliver them with some top quality broadcasting. It's been great, it's been a privilege, and I do always wish APPF1 the best of successes. We're waiting now for the final couple of laps in qualifying. MX trying to improve, a bit of a mistake through the initial first sector, and as it stands, 6/10 off pole position. Rick is out there on his outlap as well, trying to improve. We're into the dying stages of this qualifying session. A number of people, Lifeboat, Sox, Truckster, and Trunk, all have already given up and retired. 1 minute left to go in qualifying. Unfortunately, when it comes to Formula 1, you can finish your lap as long as you are on a lap as the checkered flag is waved. Rick going quite slowly, trying to build up the temperature in his tyres and make sure they are able to sustain the full lateral loads of the Jeddah Street Circuit, because it's very difficult, very demanding, of course, on those tyres. And those soft compound tyres will very easily heat up if you are not careful. I have a feeling I muted myself during the dying stages of qualifying. I have a very, very bad feeling. Oh, that's brilliant. Anyway, I'm going to mute myself again because I forget the controls. Brilliant. That's fun. I do apologise, Rick. I did get really excited and really hyped up for your pole position, but anyway, I'll make up for it in the race, I promise. So getting told that I did mute myself, which I am sorry about, very, very sorry. That was a really good end to qualifying, but it wasn't because I was just speaking to myself. So yeah, that's fun. That's very fun. I do apologise. You guys could have said, if I cut out for any more than sort of 10 seconds, let me know. Because what it is a case of, I've got two buttons. One's unmute, one's mute, just so I can take a breather. But yeah, if I cut out for any longer than 10 seconds, spam me in the YouTube chat. But anyway, what I'll do, it was Rick that took pole position. A fantastic lap in the dying moments for the Flying Dutchman. He was on form. It was Ghost that couldn't quite deliver. Well, he did deliver, but Rick was able to respond on the absolute limit of adhesion for him in that prancer of a car. And what a lap it was in the end of that qualifying session. What a session it was, it must be said. Talking you through the grid order then for this 25-lap race. As I say, it is Rick that took pole. Ghost will join him on the front row of the grid with Kinnan and MX, your second. Lifeback rounds off the top 5 with RJ Blair keeping him for company there in 6th. Smee and Wes 7th and 8th with Lawrence and Tinos, your top 10. The veterans of Ted and Scott round off the 6th row with Sox and Trucksters 13th and 14th alongside each other. Then Tronk and JD, the Scotsman, rounds off the grid in 16th place. Unfortunately, a couple of technical difficulties, it must be said, but Ted's back in and up there in P11. 25 laps then of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and to round off APPF1 in 2022. Wow. What a journey it's been. It's been fantastic to see this community grow and develop, and it is so great to be back. I know I got all sentimental and sappy and blah 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 earlier on, but I really do mean it. Rick weaving and running his way to his pole position slot on the right hand side of the grid. 25 laps. Oh, there is someone going off into the barrier. That was something. We enjoy that. We love that. Regardless of which, Rick takes his spot, trying to angle himself slightly to the left to make sure he gets the best possible start. He doesn't get into his grid box perfectly, and that could play to the advantage of Ghost, who is hit the nail right on the head. We'll soon go to the 5 red lights and then take you through 25 laps. And for one final time in 2022 for APPF1, the Christmas jumper race is a go. And Rick gets away well from pole position. Is Ghost going to be able to try and get alongside? No, there's contact in the back. Down the inside goes MX on Ghost, who's demoted to 3rd, maybe even 4th with Kiernan trying to find his way through. They're 2 abreast as they exit the complex of turn 1 and 2. Rick still leads though from MX, Kiernan, Ghost and RJ Blair, your top 5 still jostling for that 5th place just in the background there. But a comfortable start from Rick to kick start this race. MX, a brilliant start up to upper place as well. Kiernan able to capitalise on Ghost, and we've already lost Scott from this race. A big crash in the background, and already a full course caution in effect for the start of this race. And unfortunately, we have lost a couple of drivers. I think we've lost Scott, of course, as I mentioned. And is that a full-blown safety car? No, it is just a VSC, so the race is neutralised. A full course caution gives everyone a chance to breathe and settle down after the very manic start of this race. But Ghost, unfortunately, not getting off to the best of starts, and unfortunately, that spells a very premature end to his bid for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix from starting on in 12th place Could have made some progress forward. Still waiting then, of course, for the green flag to be waved to signal us back underway, but MX looking feisty. Trying to work his way past Rick, maybe on the restart. Really does have to slow down, though, as I'm assuming that the VSC is coming in at the end of this lap. Rick leads them away, then 1.5 seconds clear of MX, who I don't know how he's dropped back so much time. When is the green flag going to be waved? Because it's not now. Is Rick really going to have to halt it down? Again, I'm not too sure. But Ghost needs to make up some places on the opening lap. We are back to green. And 1 second covers the top two. Rick really with a breakaway start, the ideal start. And you can see there in the bottom of your screen, the predicted pit stop strategy, mediums to hards, or a 2-stop of medium, medium, hard. So it could be a 1er or a 2er in terms of the pit stop strategy. But again, that remains to be seen. Talking of details, there are your gainers and losers of the opening lap of this race. Big gainers there, Truckster up 5 places from 14th on the grid. Tronk and JD up 4 apiece. And the big losers, Lifebout and Smee, both 7 and 10 respectfully. Big gainers, though, at the front of the field where it is going to be really, really difficult to gain. MX up 2. Sox, unfortunately, retiring from the session as well on the exit of turn of that long left-hander at the end of Sector 1. But Rick really doing a fantastic job out in front, doing everything that he can in full force to stretch that advantage away from everyone in behind. 1.4 seconds clear. And now MX could be under a world of pressure from Kiernan. Another VSC, though, unfortunately, neutralising this race and bringing us to a halt at the end of the second lap. So it is another premature end, of course, for Sox, who really is not getting well accustomed to Jeddah. Sox is saying that, did he mention he doesn't like Jeddah? Yeah, we know. Back to green flag racing, and Lifebout with a drive-through penalty for speeding under the virtual safety car. RJ Blair into the pit lane, presumably for damage, but we are back to green, and that gap between Rick and MX is back under a second. MX, of course, vital for him to stay within a second. That is the range of the DRS, the drag reduction system, that sees the rear wing open in specified zones on the circuit. However, small mistakes here and there, small cracks in MX's ability could seep through and could allow Rick just to get away another end. Ted with a crash in the pit lane, so he's just retired in the pits. And that spells an end again. Same too with JD, already losing 4 cars in the opening 3 laps of this race. Is a shame, but we still have 12 running. We still have 12 opportunities, 12 fighters for the lead. And now Kiernan with the DRS, having a bit of a look to MX, not quite close enough, but putting the Canadian off slightly. Is MX going to get the benefit on Rick? Yes, he is. Gets the DRS open, and that could be the Canadians' saving grace to be able to close the gap to Rick and allow him to keep Kiernan at bay, because it's never easy being second place in a train, though he's gone very wide, completely fluffed up the final corner. And now, as we ride on board with Kiernan, is he close enough for the attack? No, is the answer to that. Quickest goes Kiernan, a 1:33.0. And a 4-car train now for the race lead. The DRS really coming into play a factor, keeping these guys nice and tucked up together, and meaning that they are not leaving each other's company whatsoever. A fight for 5th also raging on between Wes and Tinos. A little bit further back, we'll keep an eye on that as it progresses. MX, though, is out of this race. Where and how? Bit of a spin, I'm assuming, and another neutralization of another virtual safety car in this race. I wish we could take a look at replays. I turned away for 1 second. Actually, can we? Can we have a quick look at the race director? Can we maybe run our way through? I don't think that's the case. I wish. I really do wish we could have a look. But I don't think so. No flashbacks or anything like that. But what we do know is that MX is out of this race. And what we do know is that Kiernan takes his place in second, that Ghost gets put back onto the podium, and that it's another VSC. And now an actual full-blown safety car. It would be nice if the game told me in the top left, but it didn't. which is great, very helpful. What does this mean in terms of strategies, though? We'll have a look as to what tyres people are on. You can see there now on the timing tower. Mediums pretty much unanimously, apart from RJ Blair, who's on to the hards. Who's coming in? Who's staying out? Who takes advantage of this free pit stop? Is Rick trying to do the almighty dummy? No. Kiernan stays out to take the lead, to take track position away from Rick and Ghost with a 5-second stop and go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. A clumsy mistake and on to hard compound tyres. Not serving his penalty. You can't do it straight away. Back onto the Pirelli range, the hardest in the Pirelli range. Ghost and Rick both onto the hards, but what this means is that Kiernan gets the track position and is going to stay on a one-stop strategy. I doubt that those hards are going to be able to carry Rick and Ghost all the way to the end of this race. It's going to be very, very difficult for them to do so. They are going to start to degrade as the race progresses. And already we have 5 DNFs in the opening 5 laps, an average of 1 a lap. Chances are there are going to be more. Chances are there's going to be another safety car along the way to come the calling of Kiernan, who has now utilised the safety car, utilised Rick's pit stop to get the track position and stay ahead. And track position is vital around Saudi Arabia. Yes, you've got the slipstream and DRS down the pit straight. Yes, you've got the slipstream and DRS down in towards that final corner. But track position is king. Through the tight and twisty section, the dirty air starts to play a factor, and it starts to get in the way of your ability to follow, and it starts to mean that you might not be able to put the amount of pressure that you would like to, or even get close enough to make an overtake as you would like. So Kiernan with the track position, at least for now. The interesting dynamic, though, is, of course, the split. Where's Trugster also staying up? So they are the podium as they stand for the moment. Of course, though, only time will tell. Still a long way to go in this race. We are only 20% through. 9 people watching along in the stream. Do make sure to like, subscribe, turn the bell on for notifications, and get yourself into the live chat. Let me know who you are. Let me know what your thoughts and feelings are throughout the race, and do let me know if I go quiet for more than 10 seconds at a time. Usually, it will be myself stepping away just to get a drink, just to breathe, because it's only myself in the commentary booth. I've not got someone else to bounce off, as I've become very much accustomed to. Back in the early days when it was just myself, I got really good at being able to fill a stream as best I can. Then I went over into the world of endurance racing with the Virtual Endurance Championship and a multitude of other things as well. And when the race dies down, because with endurance racing you're running for 4, 6, 8, 12, 24 hours at a time. Teams are not going to be going flat out fighting each other tooth and nail for a position all throughout the race. A long race, of course, a lot of pit stops, a lot of crashes, a lot of mistakes, a lot of differences in pace mean that over time the grid does get spread out quite a lot. So when it comes to endurance racing, a big chunk of time is taken up by trying to fill. So you'll talk about the strategy, you'll talk about the teams, the drivers, give them a biography. Make up a bit of a conversation with your other commentator, talk about the history of sim racing or where it's going, motorsport in general, just whatever what you ate for dinner. It depends how desperate you get for a conversation. And when you've got a commentator you work well with, it makes it so much less bad. But then, of course, you get other commentators who you might not get along as well with, or you might not have as much experience as them, or they might not have as much experience as you. And it does start to rack up, and you do start to feel like you're having to carry a very massive burden. But again, other than endurance racing, you have someone else with you to talk and bounce off with and make conversation with, and you're not doing it all by yourself. Because I could make a point, then someone else I work with in the commentary booth could be like, oh yeah, this is right, and this also, and then I could feedback off that, and this, that, and the other, and it's great. But when you're by yourself, it's very difficult because you're having to do all the hard work. You're almost, in a sense, having to try and have a conversation with yourself, right? which is why I do appreciate you guys coming into the live chat, giving me something to talk about. Who was that into the pit lane? It was Wes, very late on in the safety car period. Going to lose a lot in terms of track position, but is going to have a significantly less time on that hard compound tyre. Speaking of pit lane sequences and things like that, Lifeboat has got a drive-through penalty, and Ghost has indeed got a 5-second stop-and-go penalty as well. So, yeah. Those are your updates in terms of race control as it stands. I mean, Jeddah is a really tricky circuit. I mean, it goes without saying. The high-speed nature, the flicks lefts, the flicks right, it means that you are always on the absolute limit. You are always a millimetre away from completely ending your race, and potentially even other people's as well. But also, there are a number of ways you can get those track limits excursions and get yourself some unnecessary warnings, and they add up. 3 warnings, then you get a 3-second time penalty. Then it's 3 more warnings, then another 3-second time penalty. And over the course of a 25-lap race, they do start to add up very, very quickly. You will have to excuse me. I am rather tired. I've been walking around Norwich all day, trying to frantically find a Christmas present for my little sister, because the thing I got her, right, she asked for something, and I got it, but I felt bad because it was only something small. It looked like something you put in a stocking, so I was like, I'm trying to find something I could quickly put in her stocking. Also looking for a couple of other people, just in case, you know, last minute thing, whatever. So I hope if you do celebrate Christmas, that you've got all your Christmas shopping sorted, because you do not want to be going out late at Christmas Eve trying to find something. And I do wish everyone a very, very Merry Christmas, and make sure that they can round off 2022 on a high. Speaking of ending on a high, the safety car is in this lap. Lap 8 of 25 is when we'll see the green flag wave once more. It's Kiernan at the front of the field. He leads trucks to Rick, Ghost, and Tinos, your top 5. RJ Blair, Tronk, Smee, Lawrence, and Wes, your top 10. And Lifeboat rounds off the field. Controlling the pace is Kiernan. We go green again in Saudi Arabia. Very, very close there between Rick and Truckster. Both of them able to find their way through fairly efficiently. Is Ghost having a bit of a look to the inside of the Dutchman? How late can he be on the brakes? It's not quite late enough. And maybe a bit of a look as well from Tinos just in behind. RJ Blair trying to work his way forward. Kiernan leads though. Rick very much in contention, and Ghost a 5-second penalty. Same too with Rick for ignoring the yellow flag. Maybe speeding off the safety car restart. Maybe going for an overtake, I think, before the green flag was waved. And that would have been on the AI car of Trugster. Smee unfortunately retiring from the session, having a bit of an off through the tight and twisty section. But Rick leads. What's happened to Kiernan? What has happened to Kiernan? How has this happened? How have we missed it? Is another thing. Has he had a spin? Has he struggled to get back going again? I think that has been the case. And now those tyres are going to be struggling slightly in terms of temperatures. Those tyres are going to be calling out for something. But strangely enough, I think when we were following Trugster, we actually did miss the car of Kiernan have a bit of an off. And I can't blame anyone else other than myself. Usually we've got the likes of Mike Yao or Arjuna or Hugo or whoever broadcasting and doing the cameras for us. But no, when you're on F1, you've got to do it all yourself. Bit of a fight maybe as Tronk and RJ Blair work their way through. Also just in behind there, Lawrence and Wes. Lifebout to the top 9. And then Kiernan trying to work his way back up the field. Kiernan though with cleanliness points. Rick and Ghost both with a penalty. Lifebout in to serve his. Kiernan working his way forward. Up into 9th place now. A bit of a swap of positions between Lawrence and RJ Blair. You can see, oh, actually no, it's between Tronk. I do apologise. On the run out of the chicane. And Lawrence up into 4th place. Tronk trying to keep him honest though, side by side, because RJ Blair wants to get involved. Side by side as they run their way through. Bit of an awkward moment though, because Wes finds his way through on the number 75 car of Tronk. 78 car, I do apologise. Unfortunately, a bit of an awkward ordeal. As soon as you start to go side by side there, you do end up losing a lot of time. And those in behind can really work their way forward quite quickly. Kiernan trying to work his way through as efficiently as possible through the AI of Trugster, and now eyeing up the moves in front. Also, speaking of, we've got Wes and RJ Blair swapping positions just in front for P5. Wes now ahead of RJ Blair, who's trying to launch the counter-attack, though already looking to the left-hand side, two abreast as they run their way through the twist and the wind of Jeddah, and in towards the next braking zone. It is going to go the inside line the way of RJ Blair, but can he hold it? Outside line, also close to contact, and Wes saws his way around the outside to hang on to only 5th place in this race. The more they fight, the more they lose to those in front, but what a demonstration of racing ability is on display at the moment. RJ Blair still tucked up in the slipstream and waiting for the counter-attack opportunity. Less than a second the gap between Rick and Ghost onto the 3rd lap after a safety car restart, meaning the drag reduction system is in full effect. That's not going to go the way of RJ Blair this time around, though he is very, very close and eyeing up that move. Is Kiernan able to close the gap? Is Tronk going for the counter-attack? The answer to both of those is no. This fight, though, Rick and Ghost, what can we get out of these two? What can we see? Two very fast drivers, two staple names in APPF1, and two titans ready to duel it out around the Saudi Arabian streets here in Jeddah. A 3-second time penalty, though, for RJ Blair. A little bit too ambitious in terms of his track limits. And that, unfortunately, is not going to go the way of the 29. 16 laps, though, left in this Grand Prix, and still a long way to go. But penalties up and down the order that could work back into the favour of Kiernan T. Ghost Race really has taken a turn. Unfortunately, that has been the case. But Kiernan has also had his fair share of bad luck. Rick, maybe with ignoring yellow flags, also could have avoided that penalty. But shoulda, coulda and woulda at the end of the day. There's still a long way to go. Always press on, always try and find a way through. Just recently, in the FIA South European Cup 2022 that I was talking about, it was Martin Kadlecek who had a really poor opening day. And also, we're going to cut our way to the front because maybe side by side for the lead, Ghost versus Rick. Martin Kadlecek, a really poor run in race 1, day 1. 2nd and 9th, I believe, were his results. Going into Spa on the Nürburgring was 7th in the championship. He bounced back 1st and 2nd in those races, were able to catapult himself all the way up to 2nd place in the overall standings, and P1 in the Southern European Cup. Was able to take away, I believe, 750 euros just for bouncing back, just for staying in the mix. While that's not going to be the case, that's not what's at stake today, still the same principle applies. Press on, see what you can do, because you never know what can happen. Motorsport is ruthless, it's indiscriminate, and it will bite anyone who allows it to expose its weaknesses. A little bit of a fight here between Wes, Lawrence, RJ Blair, Kiernan also in the mix. Will have to cut between this and that fight at the front as they approach their way into the DRS zone. Ghost very, very close to the rear end of the Dutchman of Rick, the Briton. Wes also, and Lawrence fighting over 4th place. Bit of contact as they run their way through. We do have to fight our way back, though, to the lead of this race. Rick going defensive. Ghost having a bit of a look to the outside line. Not quite. Going to try and go for the up and under. Get the drive off the corner. Will once again benefit from the drag reduction system as they run their way down the pit straight. Rick defensive, though it's not enough. It's all in vain because Ghost outside line and a car length ahead well before the braking zone into the race lead. Goes the 3-time sprint champion of APPF1, though Rick is still hammering on that pressure, still not allowing him to breathe at all, and will still gun for the race lead to the best of his ability. Also, Wes, Tinos, Lawrence, RJ Blair, and Kiernan, this 5-way fight for P3 now actually rages on. Again, we'll switch back to this fight for the lead because very, very close. Rick trying to make up for it. Wes trying to find a way through. Kiernan trying to negotiate his way as well. Trying to get the double up and under. No way through in this portion of the circuit for Kiernan. Through the right and then the left. RJ Blair a little bit wide. That could invite Kiernan outside line. That could be the benefit for him actually. RJ Blair might have to play second fiddle, and wow, the lateness that Kiernan was able to demonstrate on the brakes means that he's up into 6th place. Rick unfortunately losing a little bit of time to Ghost, to the extent of around about 2.2 seconds now is the gap to the leader. And that is not going to go down pretty well in the Dutchman's camp. Here's Wes, though, closing at a rate of knots to the left-hand side of Lawrence. Oh, my word. So close. Oh, my blimey. That's going to cost him a lot of momentum, though. That could invite Kiernan to have a bit of a look in the slipstream. The DRS as well enabled on the run towards the final corner. Kiernan on a charge back. Kiernan on a fight back. Kiernan trying to redeem himself. Late to the left-hand side. Not quite late enough, though. Scares off Wes just a little bit. Just enough to have a bit of a look. Also, the fight for third. Lawrence pulls out late. Right-hand side. Is the DRS enough to see him ahead? Yes, it is. A bit of a kerfuffle in the background as well, because Wes versus Blair versus Kiernan. Blair ahead of Kiernan and demoting his progress. Though back up the inside comes Kiernan and hangs on for 6th place. Still fighting as they exit the chicane, and still RJ Blair on that left-hand side. That inside line, but into the sweeper of the left. It's Kiernan that prevails. A little bit wide, though, in terms of the track limits, so maybe not going to go down too well for RJ Blair. Fight for the lead also back under 1 second as we approach halfway through in this Grand Prix, and already a lot of action to talk our way through. It's been fantastic so far, and I'm sure it will continue to be that way. Lawrence Tinos fighting for the podium, though still wanting to be mindful, I think, of those in behind. There goes RJ Blair, I believe, off the circuit, losing a bit of time. 10 seconds back is this fight for third on 1 and 2. So the more this fight rages on, the more Kiernan is in trouble. Tinos going very defensive because Wes is having a bit of a look. No, Tinos actually turning defense into offense, and Wes saws his way back through with the up and under. Back up into third for him. Tinos demoted to 4th. Lawrence all the way down to 5th in the span of just 2 corners. Now Kiernan trying to put a bit of pressure on. Doesn't really know where to go. Same too with Blair just in behind, trying to put the pressure on the Tier 1 champion. Left-hand side for the final corner goes Kiernan. He's managed to do it, and he's managed to get himself up in the 5th, though it's not going to stand because outside line for Lawrence means that he's able to stay in front, and there goes Kiernan deciding to bail out of this fight and bail into the pit lane. 13 laps on those medium compound tyres is way too long for his liking. RJ Blair and Lawrence fighting side by side through turns 1 and turn 2. And now RJ Blair, left-hand side as they emerge. Again, was this case on Kiernan, though he's got a bit more of a leg versus Lawrence. Still not enough of a leg and not enough of an advantage to get himself into the top 5 once more. Ghost and Rick. What a fight this could be if they allow it to be that way. If they start to fight, if they start to squabble, it could be one for the ages. Kiernan onto the hard compound tyres, presumably to the end of this race, it must be said. And still with penalties and things to serve for the likes of Ghost and for the likes of Rick. It's not over. It's well and truly not over until it's over. Cannot wait to see this race unfold in all of its glory. Also, Rick versus Ghost in towards the DRS zone. Is the Dutchman close enough? Does he want to mount an attack? Not even using his overtake, but it's still enough to pull out to the right-hand side. Outside line for the final corner. Ghost having to be on the defensive. Is Rick just betting him in for the ultimate up and under? Tries to get the late apex. Is either of them into the pit lane? No, because both of them are going right to the end of this race. DRS once more for Rick. To the left-hand side goes Ghost to defend. In all of his desperation, is Rick even close enough? He's not even using his extra 160 brake horsepower of power, so he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to put on a challenge at the moment, and I think that's the correct course of action. Because for these guys, I think let's actually confirm in terms of penalties what there it is. 10 seconds for Ghost, 5 seconds for Rick. As it stands, they will still finish 1 and 2 in this race. While yes, it will be inverted because Ghost has more penalties than Rick and blah blah blah. They will still finish in the top 2 places. Speaking of, Wes going quite in deep through turn number 5, and that is going to invite Tinos to have a bit of a look. Not quite enough. They almost ran side by side through one of the sketchiest parts of the circuit to run even by yourself, let alone with another car. No DRS zone here for this year of 2022. So Tinos not able to be the beneficiary of that one, but maybe a little bit wide could invite Lawrence through, or maybe a supreme undercut, getting the better drive off of that corner of turn 13 apparently. But not quite enough. Back to the front. Ghost and Rick. Close. But no major moves from Rick. Not using that overtake button. 4th gear, of course, to try and maximize his exit. We'll ride on board with him just in case, because that DRS sand slipstream can be very deadly if you're not careful. But I think Ghost knows the strategy is to just knuckle down and get on with this race. In towards turn number 1. And Rick still hanging on in the fight. And of course is still net 5 seconds ahead of Ghost. So it's going to take another penalty for Ghost to even stand a chance in this race. There's the move maybe from Blair to the inside of Lawrence. But no cigar on this attempt. There's Lawrence though spinning round, and that might promote Blair into 5th place, and it does. Was Lawrence spun out on his own accord, or was it by the aid of someone else? I'm not entirely sure. It was just a loop round, I think, from the driver now in 6th place. But not ideal. Suboptimal, as some would say. And now the gap between RJ Blair and Tinos has grown to 2 seconds because RJ Blair didn't really know what to do. Just panicked a little bit, I think, and slammed on the brakes. So now it's 3rd and 4th, the fight between Wes and Tinos. Fastest lap for Lifeboat on that previous lap at 1:31.0, and Kiernan getting himself a time penalty for multiple warnings. His pace at the moment should be astonishing compared to those in front of him. Fresh compound tyres on the hards, and should be better off. There's Lawrence though, a retirement from him. Is it a crash on track? I think that is the case, and there is the full course caution and a safety car. So this really gonna spice things up. It means that Ghost and Rick are able to serve their penalties. Is Ghost in to serve both or just the one? I think he has to make 2 pit stops to serve both, but I'm not sure. Rick will be in to serve just one, and I think onto the mediums. Surely for the mediums. Yeah, that is the case. Serving that 5 seconds, of course. Same 2 for Rick to come in, but they will still emerge 1 and 2 as they entered the pit lane in because of the aid of the 15-odd second gap that we were able to pull versus Wes. Who stays out, though? Does anyone? Does Kiernan? If Kiernan surely has to stay out. This is surely going to work well for Kiernan. No, he's in. He wants a fresh set of rubber too. So, fair play. We respect the hustle from Kiernan. And I'm sorry if I do cut off and the game pauses. It is just me checking that everything is still working. Because I don't want to be rambling on for nothing. But anything. Just getting a look now. The stream does look a little bit fuzzy. I'm not sure what more I can do about that. It is still working. It is still visible. But I do want it to be as crisp and as best as possible. Because right now I'm seeing pretty snazzy coverage. So let me see if I can change anything about that. Just while we're under the safety car. I do just want to have a look. No, I don't want to remove the game feed. I want to go into settings and see if I can have a bit of a look. I don't think... No, I don't think there's anything I can particularly do. Is there any specific stream settings? Maybe? I don't think so. So what we're going to do is we're not going to mess around with that, just in case of accidentally ending the stream or something along those lines. Yeah, we're not going to mess with that. We're going to cut back to the racing action. Just under the safety car, I'm going to just take a breather, just for about a minute or so, just so I can calm down, get myself back into mindset. So don't go anywhere. The safety car is going to roll us around for a couple more laps. It is RJ Blair that leads the way because he did stay out on those 14-lap-old tyres. Then Ghost, Rick, Tinos, and Where's Your top 5. Then comes Kiernan and Tronk, 6th and 7th. Truckster and Lifeboat, those that are still running in this race. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back then to the APPF1 Christmas jumper race. We are towards the end of this safety car cycle, the 4th of the day. Lap 18 of 25, well and truly into the final stages. And what a race so far it has been, full of drama, chaos and excitement. Talking you through the rest of the race, it is myself, Zach Sweeney, still in the commentary booth on my own personal YouTube channel because there's nowhere else to put it. Under the safety car, though, we saw RJ Blair come back into the pit lane for a fresh set of soft compound tyres, though still with a penalty. Same too for the leader as it stands of Ghost. He's still got that 5-second stop-and-go penalty that he accrued a little bit earlier on. Rick will be there in second. Tinos finishes off the provisional podium place with Wes and Keenan top 5. Truckster, RJ Blair, Tronk and Lifeboat the rest of the field. 7 laps to go at the line. Lap 19, 20, 21, 22, 3, 4 and 5. Safety car is in this lap. We get back to green flag racing then, and it is going to be Ghost that controls the pace. Lawrence saying that RJ's tapped you and sent your rear tyre temps up just a little bit. And that saw his spin and the end of his race. Lap 18 of 25, the final 7 laps. A showdown to the end. Who's it going to be that comes out on top? As I say, Ghost is in control. As soon as the safety car reaches the timeline, as soon as Ghost decides to punch it, we are back underway here in Saudi Arabia. He straightens up the car. He puts his foot down, and a great start from Tinos to get the jump versus Rick. Side by side as they run their way in towards turn number 1. Trying to give the squeeze, though, does Rick. And Tinos well and truly fermented 2 wide, 2 rows deep as well, with Wes and Keenan running side by side just in behind this fight as well. Pushed out to the extremities of the circuit, though, to the Tier 1 champion. And Wes trying to hang on to 4th. Rick hangs on to 2nd, and Ghost establishes an early dominance at the safety car restart stage. Keenan to 4th, Wes to 5th. And now RJ Blair trying to get into the mix as well. Lifeboat Truckster, unfortunately not in this race. Trunk trying to work his way forward also. But now Rick, what can he do? 3-second time penalty for Wes. As it stands, Ghost will finish outside of the top 5. Actually, no, it won't. It'll be 3rd, I think. It depends as to how far back Keenan finishes. But a saving grace moment for the Brit, who tries to make amends for maybe a strategical blunder a little bit earlier on. Maybe, I don't know, but gave us some great action a little bit earlier on. The fight between the front 2, though, very, very close. No drag reduction system in effect until they get to the 3rd lap. Side by side just in behind, though, because Keenan working up a place on Tinos gets himself onto the provisional podium and has the front 2 well and truly fermented into his sights. And once you get that small inkling of weakness, once you see your opponents, you can see that gap come down bit by bit by bit. And then you aim yourself those targets. You gain a couple of attempts. You gain a couple more attempts. And straight away, you're right on the back of that car in front. Something else unlocks. And you just drive like a different animal. And that's exactly what's happening to Kieran. Trying to prove his worth in the APPF1 Christmas jumper race. In the slipstream, just in behind as well, you can see Wes and Tinos trying to have a fight. Squabble over 4th place. Tinos hanging on as it stands. But Wes and RJ Blair, well, and truly really wanting to find a way through. RJ Blair on that fresh soft compound set of tyres up the inside, though still giving a fight, though, is Wes around the outside. That's going to ruin his momentum and give maybe Lifeboat the bit of a look that he needs to work a way through. Not quite close enough on this particular occasion, though. The top 3, Ghost, Rick and Keenan. Not the first time we've seen a rivalry like this in APPF1, and it certainly, hopefully, is not going to be the last. Ghost leads the way. Rick is the only one of the 3 without a penalty. He is the one in control. He is the one establishing dominance at this final stage of the race. Just 5.5 laps left to go in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix to round off what a great year of racing that 2022 has been. For APPF1, for sim racing in general, for motorsport in general. Lifeboat outside line for this next right-hander. Tries to duck back in, though, but the outside for the next left. Into the right, trying to remain as close as possible. But again, our focus has to remain at the front. We don't really know where to look because everyone is so equally close together. Rick on the back of Ghost, stuck between a rock and a hard place. He's got to attack a champion of Ghost, but he's also got to keep a champion of Keenan behind. He is sandwiched between the 2 and doesn't really know what to do with himself. The sparks fly down the pit straight as we're into the final 5 laps. DRS re-enabled, and we'll see a fight a little bit further back. RJ Blair trying to go for the move. Late on the brakes for turn 1. Gets it stopped, though. Tino's going to try and come back around the outside. Dives it to turn 2. And now Lifeboat in the mix. Through 3. Up to 4, Lifeboat, not quite close enough, but what a defense that was from Tinos. What an attack that was from Blair. It takes 2 to tango, and it was Tinos that on this occasion came out on top. We don't really know who's going to come out on top in this race either. Still a lot of things left to unfold, still a lot of things left to happen. And I, for one, am all here for it. I cannot wait to see what these guys have in store through the long right-hander of turn 13. Kiernan, a bit of a shake on the exit. All 3 of them equal in terms of their tyres. There's the spin, though. There's RJ Blair, unfortunately, having a little bit of an off through turn 13, tumbling his way to the back of the grid. Cutting our way back to this fight, though, because Rick in the slipstream and the DRS very, very close to Ghost. Not quite close enough to mount an attack. Purple through the middle sector. Pole for the Dutchman. It's been demoted to second place. Ghost was as low down as 4th at one point, but worked his way back up into the mix. Down this back straight run towards the final corner. Is it going to be inside or outside for Rick? He decides on the inside, left-hand side. Late on the brakes for the Flying Dutchman. Into the race lead, though, goes Rick. Bit of a slide on the exit that could allow Ghost to launch a counter-attack maneuver with the slipstream, with the overtake button. Neither get the beneficiary of the DRS, but back up into the race lead almost immediately for Ghost. And we cut back to this fight because Rick is not quite close enough to send the move in towards turn number 1 or turn number 2. And that as they were 1 and 2 before this safety car restart. Kiernan also trying to work his way into the mix. Lifeboat and Tinos side by side. Wes just a front row seat to all of the action that's unfolding right in front of his eyes. Rick on the absolute limit. A bit of a poor momentum though through the left-hander. Maybe a bit of understeer. Maybe his tyres getting a little bit too overheated on that run. But through the left-hander, they're both running as tight as they possibly can. Bit of a better exit, though, from Rick. Even better exit from Ghost, who, despite that penalty, seems very composed, very calm, very collected. A bit of a spin. I think Lifebout on the exit of turn 13 brings an end to his fight with Wes and Tinos. So all focus now on the front 3 with 3.5 laps left to round off what is a very special event for APPF1. Their yearly Christmas jumper race, the 2nd year in a row I've been able to commentate on it. Is it going to be an attack from Rick? Ghost lets it happen, allows the Dutchman to the left-hand side. Kiernan as well, just sitting idle, waiting for his opportunity to pounce. Ghost beached on the outside line, though. Could that allow Kiernan to get the drive? I don't think that's going to be the case. Who's got the DRS? It is Rick, but the closing speed of Ghost means that he's able to finally squeeze the gap to the left-hand side, pulls out and hits a brick wall of air. Is he late enough on the brakes to send the move? He is. He's given to space by Rick, but gets the up and under. Outside line for turn 4, he's able to keep it there, but not quite. So now having to tuck back in behind. Bit of a look to the left-hand side. Not quite close enough on that particular occasion. So still playing second fiddle and still losing that momentum and still under pressure from Kiernan. It's now Rick's opportunity to bolt. He needs to go. He was able to get the move done into that final corner. He was able to keep it into the first 2 corners of turn 1 and 2. But now all the pressure is on him to maintain that pace and to get away from the pack of cars behind of Kiernan and Ghost. Bit of a slide though, oh my word, Ghost. Tank slapper, save of the year. Brown pants moment has lost the DRS to Rick and might well lose the place to Kiernan. I don't think Kiernan was prepared for that in any sort of way. He probably had to have just as quick, if not quicker reaction times than Ghost did. But could this allow Rick to run away? And still any chance of the on-track victory. While yes, Ghost and Kiernan have got penalties, they still both want to win the race on track, just around the year off on a high. For a lot of these people, it will be the final race of the year, their final hoo-ha, their final event. And we might not see them until the new year. So all the pressure is on to end it on a high. For all 3 of them, they've deserved greatness. And for the most part, they've gotten it. They've had a lot of fun, a lot of races, a lot of memories over the last couple of years. But when it's your last huzzah, you want it to end on a high. Just to go into the next year in confidence, in full form, in control. Just to say to your rivals that you are the quickest, that you won the last race. Because at the end of the day, you are only as good as your last event. So to go into 2023 in full swing would be very, very delightful for all 3 of them. Only one of them can do it at the end of the day. Is it going to be Rick? Is it going to be Ghost? Is it going to be Kiernan? All 3 of them have a chance. A lap and a third left. 24 of 25 in this race. It's gone so quickly. But who is it going to be? All questions that you're asking, all questions that I'm answering. And through the flat out twisty section. Very easily flat out in these Formula 1 cars, but very little margin for error. They zip their way past the cameras and you just get a feel. You get a small glimpse into how truly mind-bogglingly quick these Formula 1 cars are, even with the reduction in aerodynamic capabilities. This final flat out section for the penultimate time. Ghost pulls out to the right-hand side. Rick gives him the space. Is it going to be held firm, though? Not quite late on the brakes. Enough is Rick, and that invites Ghost into the race lead. Onto the final lap. Is that what Rick wants? Does he want to be behind on that final run to the line? I think that's the case. Lifting off a little bit because the slipstream and the DRS should allow him to close more than that. Is it a game of chess? Are we playing the strategical mind games that Rick is doing? He wants to be behind. He wants to be in second place because that run to the line could allow him enough of a drag race. And could we see 3 wide on the line? I don't know, but it's likely. It could happen. One more lap for the APPF1 Christmas jumper race. Rick a little bit wide, struggling in terms of pace, does not want to pick himself up a penalty because then he might not be in his control as he'd have thought. Life back onto wets. RJ Blair into the pit lane as well. Oh my word, struggling. A little bit of wheel spin for Rick as he exits turn 13 for the final time. Through the left, brake as soon as you're straight, flick to the right. Back to the TV cam. And now Ghost. 5-second penalty, of course. Could it be the win on track, though? Switching to full no assists this year. Improving race by race, session by session. Both of them pushing as hard as they possibly can. Rick a little bit wide, though. That could hamper his run. DRS on this run towards the final corner is going to allow him to reclose the gap. Low on DRS, though. Blinking rear red light. Has he got enough in reserve to challenge the multiple-time APPF1 champion? The run to the line for one final time. Is it going to go the way of Ghost, who weaves his way across the line? Rick is going to take the victory after penalties of the Christmas jumper race. Kiernan in second and Ghost third. And Rick wins the final race of 2022. Tinos will come across the line to take the checkered flag for fourth. Then comes West Trunk, Trugs, the Lifeboat, and RJ Blair. Those to round off the grid. But for one final time in 2022, it was Rick that took the victory. And it was Kiernan and Ghost that rounded off the podium. What a podium that was. 3 brilliant top caliber drivers. 3 staple names, as I said a little bit earlier on, in APPF1. And all of them thoroughly deserved that win. All of them thoroughly deserve any bit of success that goes their way. And what a display that was. I thoroughly enjoyed that. And I cannot wait to see what the future holds for these guys. I do hope I can be back at some point. Maybe for one-off races, maybe for championship finales, maybe for anything along those lines. I'd love to be back because I love being here. What a battle indeed, Wes. What a battle those were between yourself and Tronk and Tinos and all the others. What a fight. And everyone that finished that race should very much take a pat on the back for themselves. You should all be very proud of yourselves. Just over a week left to 2022 before we go to the new year. And it's a good time to reflect on what we've been able to see. While I haven't been here for APPF1, what I did see earlier on in the year, over the course of the last 2 years, has been nothing short of fantastic. So if you are watching along and you're not a part of APPF1, definitely get yourself involved. They have the likes of the Tier 1, the Tier 2, the Elite, and the Sprint Championship. All of them provide equally great content. All of them provide equally great broadcasts. And all of them provide equally great racing action. And anything to tickle your fancy, whatever skill level you are, whatever type of racing you enjoy, you will find a home in APPF1 with loads of banter, a great atmosphere, loads of drivers willing to push you to your limits, and loads of drivers willing to help you improve as well. So as I say, if you are watching for the first time, get yourself involved. We watch as Rick takes to the top step of the podium, and the Dutch National Anthem will play. What we will do is run you through the grid order for the final race of the year, for the Christmas jumper race, and what a way to send it off. It was the Dutchman of Rick, converted pole to flag, but it wasn't the full story at all. A long, grueling uphill journey for Rick. Kinnan and Ghost round off the podium with Tinos and Tronk, your top 5. Then comes Wes and Truckster, who for a driver in complete AI did not do too bad at all. Lifeboat P8 and the fastest lap, with RJ Blair not making it, unfortunately, to the checkered flag, but still classified. Lawrence, your top 10, with Smee and MX 11th and 12th. Would have been interesting to see what MX could have done in this race had he not made that mistake a little bit earlier on. Could we have seen a four-way fight for the lead? Ted, JD 13th and 14th, with Sox and Scott 15th and 16th to round off the event. That is, unfortunately, I'm going to have to say, rounding off the show. We've got no more races. Where it's better than hard. Fair enough. That is unfortunately going to round off the show. APPF1, the Christmas jumper race here at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix circuit in the city of Jeddah. The night race. The lights were on. They were gleaming down on all of the Christmas jumpers. And I should have worn my Christmas jumper. I didn't think about it. I was rushing in when I got home. I should have put my Christmas jumper on, but I didn't. That is unfortunate. Oh well. That was an idea. Maybe next time. Next year. I'll be back for next year, for sure. Just to put a Christmas jumper on. Maybe have my camera in the top right or whatever you guys want. But yeah, as I say, that is going to round off our action. That was me, back, Zach Sweeney in the commentary booth for APPF1. Just like old times, we had some of the OGs on the track. Would have been nice to get Dave and Mark and Bluey and Bitmappy and who else was there? A lot of people. Woomax. Would have been great to have Woomax. And of course to have Scott and Ted last longer than 5 laps apiece. Would have been great for that. But unfortunately that wasn't quite the case. But yeah, I'm stringing this along as much as I can because I don't want to say goodbye. But I'm going to have to. I do hope you have enjoyed every second of racing action that was put on display for you guys today here for the Christmas jumper race. It has been myself, as I say, Zach Sweeney, to talk you through all of the action. I've also been behind the scenes and trying to do the cameras and trying to keep up with all the racing action along the way as well. For myself, it's a very, very Merry Christmas. I do hope you enjoy your holidays if you do celebrate them, and I do hope to see and hear from all of you over the course of the new year. I, for one, will be sure to keep you updated with all things sim racing. But until next time, take care and goodbye.